We're talking college sports in the Deep South where college football is king and the battle cry is War Eagle. The SEC conference, arguably one of the better conferences in college football, producing national champions, and in basketball this year having a Final Four appearance by the Auburn Tigers. We want to think the SEC West in football is probably one of the more competitive sub-conferences, especially when you talk about the interconnecting rivalries and dominance at the point of attack. Good morning, YouTubers. Once again, it's K-Stu the GOAT for Vernon Speaks Sports. We talk Auburn football a lot on this channel. Go ahead and subscribe. Also, if you compelled to do so, please make a comment. As a matter of fact, this particular video is inspired by a comment by Josh Pate, who is the channel holder of The Late Kick. If you don't know or have not been to his particular page, I think you should go over there and look at the very, very detailed, very, very professional, very well put together content. He recently had some coverage on spring football in the SEC. Actually was present at a couple of the spring games. But he went on to say, we were talking about in a previous video, Kenny Dillingham and Gus Malzahn ready to get the tempo going at Auburn. And a scenario that he brought up, and the question is, what if, even though he's a big fan of the tempo of Gus Malzahn, what if the tempo is kind of taken away and Auburn finds themselves in a 17-10 dogfight, basically, with Oregon? Either or, whether Auburn is winning 17-10 or whether Oregon is winning 17-10, still a factor late in the game. What if the tempo stops? What happens? How does Auburn make the adjustment, especially in a high consequence game like Oregon, where the anxiety will be very high going into the third quarter? Obviously, you will have a first year starting quarterback, hopefully an improved offensive line, multiple skill players who can make some great plays. However, when the tempo slows down, what do you do? How do you make the adjustments? What are some of the advantages and the disadvantages? So when we look at this type of scenario in the Advocare Classic, it makes me reflect back to other games previous that Auburn has had to where tempo had slowed down. We look at the game against Alabama back in 2010, where Alabama completely shut everything possible that Cam Newton had in his arsenal. What really helped Auburn in that game was a little bit of luck, to be honest with you, because Mark Ingram was headed towards the end zone, probably to put the game completely away. And then Goggins knocked the ball out, and the ball just sailed through the end zone for a touchback for the Auburn Tigers. I think that was a key point of that particular football game. Then, another bit of luck, you have Trent Richardson, who would have walked into the end zone on a running back out route in the flat, wide open, just dropped it. But the following play, this is where the defense starts to become a factor. Nick Fairley made a huge sack. The ball was fumbled, and Auburn recovered. And I believe on that particular drive, that's where the opportunity was created for Auburn to get back into the football game. I make that point to say that when you have a close game, when you have where the offense is just completely struggling, it's going to be very, very important that the defense creates opportunities. Very, very important that the defense creates opportunities. We think about Texas A&M back in 2013. Several situations where the defense created opportunities, interceptions, D Ford with the huge sack on Johnny Manziel late to give Auburn opportunities. Okay, so the defense definitely, we're talking about an experienced defense coming back in 2019. If the offense begins to kind of sputter a little bit, is going to be very important. And it just so happens that Auburn has actually been pretty good at this. If you think about the Georgia game on last year, huge interception by Jamil Dean, which would have, Auburn was still sort of in the game last year. Huge interception, but the offense just could not take advantage of the opportunity given by Jamil Dean. So Jeremiah Denson in the game against Clemson in 2017 in Death Valley created an opportunity for Auburn turnover-wise, where Auburn was in great field position inside the 20-yard line, but comes away with a field goal. So the defense definitely has to be very active and very participant in helping the offense get back on track. You think about the 2017 SEC championship game where Auburn and Georgia were pretty much toe-to-toe until the middle of the third quarter, when Georgia actually did what is effective in a dogfight game like this. They created a turnover. As a matter of fact, a very uncharacteristic turnover by Kerryon Johnson late in that game turned the turnover started to turn the tide of games like this. Okay, so the defense, for one, is going to be very important. Number two, in a game like this, it is very important for the offense to be patient. And by what I mean being patient is something similar to in basketball. When you used to running tempo in basketball and the other team has a solution for that tempo, you have to start to slow things down and be patient. You have to start creating some high percentage plays, and hopefully something starts to work for you to where you can get the tempo back going. But the last thing you want to do is force really quick 3-and-outs, force turnovers, and create poor field position, which will help give, say, a team like Oregon an advantage that would have otherwise not been there. So it's strong advice when it's not going, start running the ball on first downs. You definitely don't want to get yourself in a quick 3rd down and 10 type situation if you're Auburn, because in a tempo type offense, you really don't have the high percentage plays dialed up to where conversions on 3rd down and 5 and 7 and things like that. We've seen it historically where Auburn has not been particularly effective in that regard. So definitely start to revert back to high percentage plays. You probably want to stay away from that bubble screen that I can't stand when Auburn runs that bubble screen. That's just a very low percentage, very risky play, especially down the stretch when the game is on the line. I think this is an interesting question. We want to know what happens when the offense begins to sputter at 17-10. Say, for instance, you're in an Oregon game. The game is late. It's late in the game, and both teams are kind of at a stalemate. How do you get through that? Definitely want to capitalize on the red zone scoring. When you are in the red zone, you just got to score touchdowns. Also, we'll use this as a example, and this is the last point that I'll make on this. You look at the game against Washington last year. Auburn find themselves late in a dogfight with Washington. A turnover was created for them to win that game, put Auburn in a position to win that game. However, there are some items left on the table that actually caused the dogfight in the first place. Auburn was in the red zone multiple times against Washington in the first half. Arguably, I'd say Auburn had an opportunity to put the game away early. Usually dogfights are created by missed opportunities early in the game. Auburn has to score touchdowns in the red zone. That is just the bottom line, and that is the main reason a lot of times Auburn finds themselves in these dogfights, is because of missed touchdown opportunities in the first half. I think this was an excellent question. Thank you, Josh Pate at The Late Kick. His information for subscribing to his channel is at the bottom in the descriptions. Once again, it's K-Stu the GOAT. Good morning, YouTubers. We're talking Auburn football like nobody's business. Comment on this topic. Also, I would love for you guys to subscribe to the channel. Get in the comment section. Share this thing with another friend who is an Auburn fan, perhaps, or just an SEC fan in general. Until next time, fearless and true gang, War Eagle.